If there was one central message that you could share with the singles, what would that be?
I think somebody mentioned having an open mind as just being so, so important. And remembering that you're not looking for yourself. Sometimes the character traits that I hear people say, or the things that I see people are looking for, I often ask them, like, are you looking for you? Because you're not intended to marry someone just like you. So being open-minded about looking for someone different than yourself.
Okay, so maybe this is jumping the gun a little bit, either right before you would get engaged or before you would get married. I do think it's important that everyone goes to like a marriage counselor. I feel like that's kind of like overshadowed when people aren't like thinking about this or that, but you've only dated for a short period of time. You're still getting to know each other. I think it's good to have someone, a third party that you already feel comfortable you can talk to, so that if things do pop up later in marriage, you do have someone to go back to turn to as like that third party, different open eyes, different lens. And if you don't need them, that's great, and you're off to a great start. But I think a lot of people that first year Shana Roshona, they definitely could use a little bit more support, even if it's every just once in a while, the dirty laundry or dirty dishes or whatever it may or may not be.
One thing I have told a lot of singles, which is something that is somewhat unique to our circumstance, and I found it to be extremely helpful, is that, when we were dating, we each had a mentor, someone who knew us really, really well, who we spoke to, after pretty much every date. But not only that, our mentors spoke to each other and formed a relationship together. So even though they previously did not know each other from before we were dating, because we were speaking openly to our mentors and our mentors were speaking openly to each other, it really created this dialogue where if there were problems or concerns, we were able to address them and see, is this really a big deal? Is this not a big deal? Where is each party holding in a way that was really open and healthy? And I highly recommend that, because having just, let's say, one shadchan, it's a negotiation between two parties, versus here it's like having two lawyers who are like advocating for each one, which I think is just very, very, very helpful.
I definitely agree with the Rosenblums. Very important for everyone to have a mentor. Boys should definitely have a Rav, someone that they're really close to, because a lot of them, you need direction. You don't know what you're doing. I also want to say that these singles should not be afraid to reach out. Could be once a month. I wouldn't recommend once a week. Once a month, once every 2 months, kind of. A lot of them do send me texts, and I personally appreciate it, because sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot, even though I have my list and I go through it, but it highlights a person. Don't be afraid, send it out. I'm not going to bite. I'm not, usually I send back. I always write back. Thanks for the reminder, hope you're doing well, and that type of thing. Just a little text. I wouldn't recommend a phone call, because that's like too much, but just a text. And I always recommend to try to give a second date. People are not the same. A first date, you're nervous, all different kinds of situations. Got to give a second date.
I would say that it's a great idea to remember that when you're dating someone, you're trying to establish a friendship that will last you a lifetime. So it's good to approach dating as though you're really just trying to see if you can be friends with this person, and try to remove a little bit of the anxiety that comes along with it. If you kind of see it through that lens, I think you're able to approach a relationship in a healthier way. And I like to tell my singles, you've been out on one date. Would you like to invite this person? This is something that Rachel Goldbaum talks about. Would you invite this person back to your Shabbos table? That's the way you kind of have to look at it. Would you like to have this person back at your Shabbos table? That's the mindset you have to have. And if you're able to think that way, then a lot of people would say, something, I could give that another shot. Instead of being frozen in this frame of like, but I don't know if I can marry them. Okay, we're not asking you to marry them right now. We're just asking you to decide if you think you could maybe develop this friendship a bit further. So I think that's a big deal.
I think just being open-minded and just jumping in, you never know where things are going to take. If you keep saying no, and if you just give something a chance and just get to know the person, I think that could open windows for you. You never know. You really never know. Like, obviously, if it's like a total off shidduch, this guy is coming from who knows where, or the girl's coming from who knows where. But if it's like something like very minute that's different, or I don't know, just give it a chance. That's final message. Give it a chance. That's it.
Okay, I would say to stay strong, stay soft, and to stay positive. I would say stay strong, be strong, Amir Hashem, it will happen. You know, Emunah, davening, tefillah, be strong. Amir Hashem, it will happen. I think everyone needs to, like, you know, get chizuk once in a while, reach out for chizuk, reach out to the people who give you what you need and give you the support that you need. So you deserve to be, you definitely deserve to have that chizuk whenever you need it. I would say stay soft. Make sure when you go out, you're gentle, you're soft, you're not hardened up from all the dating and all the people and all the burnt relationships and all the things that didn't work out. Go in softer, ready, open, just good midos, just being polite and having a nice time with somebody and getting to know them. Again, like the other shadchanim were saying, we're not asking you to marry them. I think Shoshana was saying, we're not asking you to marry the person right now. We're just asking you to meet them, get along with them, see if you want them to be your friend. Stay soft when you date and stay positive, because the person on the other side, everyone enjoys a positive person. Everyone enjoys an optimist. Everyone enjoys a good date. Everyone enjoys a nice time with a pleasant person. And on top of that, you never know. The other person might not be your ziva, but they might be your shadchan at the end of the day. So keep it positive. Stay strong, stay soft, and stay positive.
Final message. Well, I know a lot of shadchanim ask people, what are you looking for? And then people rattle off like a list. I'm looking for this. He should be this or that. And I prefer to ask people what's important to them and let them discuss what's important and try and visualize what you want your life to look like. Is this someone who can build the type of house and home that you want to build? It's not necessarily what school he went to or what school she went to or what, you know, it's more what midos are important to you, what characteristics are important to you, and what's going to be important to you in the future, and kind of looking at that as opposed to having like a list and checking off a list of, you know, he has to meet all these criteria or she has to meet all these criteria. You know, just focus on the things that are, make a list of what's important to you and look for those things.
Okay, great point over there. It actually reminds me of a story where, you know, where you mentioned that, you know, to look, you know, what your future, what you want your house to look like. Somebody asked Rav Pam, he said, how am I supposed to know who I'm supposed to marry? Like, how do I make that decision? How do I know? So Rav Pam said, you know, there was a man that was standing at a train station and he was looking at the map at the wall, and he's like looking at all the different trains coming and going. And he turns to the person next to him and he asks the person, excuse me, sir, how do I know which train I should take? So the guy responds to him. He says, you take the one that's headed in the direction that you need to go. And Rav Pam tells this person, you want to know how you know who to marry? You find the one that's headed in the direction that you want to go.
I think that people, many times, singles feel very insulted by some of the suggestions that they're given. And I really feel that they should only know that people are trying to be helpful. And I don't think that they should think the worst of people. I think that they should try maybe to explain maybe a little bit better, make it a little bit clearer what they're looking for, rather than to just be insulted and turn their backs and ignore and etc. So they should just be aware that people really, really are trying to help.
We are working hard, and that we are the shliachs, and that Hashem's in charge. And we have to really be empathetic and appreciate how difficult it can be for them. I think that that's a message that we can give over through how we talk to them and how we respond. So it's painful.
Yeah.
It can be painful.
I'm going to jump on what Chaya just said, that being respectful to the singles is our job. I'm not giving anybody mussar. I'm just saying, and I'm going to reiterate what I said because I find it so important. People need to really just take care of your things, take care of any trauma that you're going through, even if it's dating. Dating is a trauma. Just do your own thing. And again, be happy. Feel fulfilled, be happy, be your own person, have friends, have a social life. Dating is great, but it's not an end all, because people that make it into a profession are not happy. It's frustrating.
So I would love if the singles were a little bit more open-minded in that to go out just for that 1 hour, the initial first date, with a mindset of, could I get along with him? Not is he marriage-minded, not does he have A, B, C, D, E, F, G on my list. Just go out, have fun, 1 hour, just and just give one single that chance, without saying no so quickly to the picture, to the height, to the hair, like you said. Just go out and give people chances.
Just remember that it only takes one, and when that right one comes along, things usually will fall into place quite well. Maybe not perfectly, but you're really just looking for that one diamond. And sometimes you have to sift through a lot of junk to get to that diamond and find that right diamond, the real diamond. And while you're waiting and looking through to find that real diamond, enjoy your time. Try to grow in whatever way you can. Try to build your life up. You don't know how long it's going to take, but we all know that before we were born, Hashem had called out a name for us, and he is out there, or she is out there, and you're going to find them. And just whatever encouragement we can try to give you, but just remember, he or she is out there for you. It's just a matter of finding them and being open-minded and not missing them because we were being silly about something small or something that really doesn't make much of a difference.
So I really loved that video that Mrs. Sarabrowski posted on the chat last week. And I think that if all of us keep in mind that Hashem is in charge and he's arranging it and we're just playing the game, then hopefully that will help things out.
I think that we all, but especially singles, need to realize that I think sometimes singles think they know what's best for them, but they often don't. We have to realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what's best for you. If a particular date did not work out, or a particular relationship did not work out, Hashem clearly did not feel it was in the best interest of that couple to obviously get married. And I think the other thing it's important to remember is singles really have to avoid making laundry lists of all these things that they want in a spouse, because often it's very unrealistic. I had literally a girl in her late 30s, I believe in her 37, that sent me her profile, and she literally, I think, took every adjective pretty much possible in a thesaurus and said, these are what I'm looking for. Clearly, nobody matches those descriptions. I mean, literally, someone patient, somebody kind, somebody good looking, somebody this or that. This is ridiculous. And when you do that, you'll never find someone. So I think we need to narrow down that laundry list and really focus on what's important. And we really have to sometimes give people a chance. I really believe that generally speaking, people should go out on at least 2 or 3 dates. Unless the date is disastrous, I really think some people just need time to open up. Right. And if we right away cancel them out, oh, they were too quiet, oh, they were this, they were that. Sometimes people, I think, blow their beshert because they were too quick to judge.
I have so much to say, but I'll just say one thing.
No, say it all.
One thing that we touched on it maybe a little bit, but what I tell singles is that it all comes up when you get married. So work it out before you start dating, and definitely work it out if you notice things as you're dating. If people point things out to you, when they don't understand what I'm saying, I'll tell them specifically, well, your parents are divorced. That's a pretty big trauma for most people. You should make sure you've discussed that with a professional and have worked out your internal world. So I'm unfortunately dealing with a lot of Baal Teshuva divorces right now, and I'm suffering trauma from it. It's really painful and terrible. And a lot of it has to do with not even thinking about what they're doing when they got married. literally not thinking and then getting sort of stuck with somebody who was really not a good fit. And so that's what I think is you should work it out. There was one note I wrote. Let's just see. I think when people call me, I get a lot of calls. Once you make a shidduch, and then once you've made a number of shidduchim, you get calls from all over the world. I get all the time. People will say, I got your number from so-and-so. I had never heard of that so-and-so. I have no idea who that person is. Never heard of them. Never been to that city in my life. So they ask me, are you a shadchan? I say, I'm a mommy trying to do a mitzvah. That's how I always present myself. And I said, and I try, and I'll be happy to set you up. I have a barometer, an internal barometer and I can't teach it to you, but you can maybe tune into it yourself. I can tell when someone really wants to get married. I can feel it in the conversation, even on the phone. I can feel it in the way they write. And for sure, if I'm in their presence. And with such a sincere person, I make extra efforts to try to help them get married. It's just the way, and even if it's just the simple Hakar Satov, when you read someone's profile and they say, thank you so much for taking the time to read this, it's little things like that we taught our kids.
I like to try to get to know each of the singles that I deal with as best as I can. On surface, a lot of the people seem like they have similar characteristics and are looking for similar things. But once you get to know people directly, you find that each person is made up of many different threads and makes them unique from the next person. And I find that that's one of the things that I try to do when I try to get to know people. And that helps a lot. For example, I recently met a young man, and he said no to a shidduch that I had suggested. And oftentimes one of the things that is a little bit frustrating is people just say, oh, it's not Nogea, it's not Nogea. And they don't tell you why. But this particular person, when I tried to ask him, he said to me, I'm looking for somebody that's warm, that's loving. This other person that you suggested was like too aloof and too not warm and loving. And once he started to explain to me what he was looking for, it became a lot easier for me to make suggestions to him because I really tried to understand him and understand what he needed. And I think that that's really a very big key for me.
I would like them to think before we speak. And as I take it very seriously, when someone speaks to me about what he or she is looking for, I really think about that a lot. So I would like them to think ahead of time in terms of how and what to express so that I can in turn be more helpful to them. And to be candid, now I understand somebody wants to be discreet, and if they don't know me initially, they're going to be uncomfortable sharing certain things, but I'm really advocating for both parties when I'm working in a shidduch. It's not that I want the shidduch to work. I only want it to work if it makes sense to work. And sometimes, when you were talking about dissuading before, I've been involved where I've read a shidduch and it's been my own idea. And then through the process, I realized it's not such a great idea after all, because the people, the singles are just not really on the same page, whether it's emotionally, whether it's hashkafically, whatever it is. And I don't push it to let's just continue. I really ask them questions for them to realize that maybe this is not where, this is not the right thing. So for them to be thoughtful about expressing what is important to them so I can be of better service.
The message that I would like to send is that the qualities that make someone a good date, so to speak, are not necessarily the same qualities that make someone a good spouse. So we want to be on a date with someone exciting and out there and fun and showing us a good time. But the things that we really need or should be looking for in a spouse are very different from that. They are, dependability, groundedness, kindness, caring. So, I feel like it's our job, and that the singles should always be encouraged to come back to the things that really matter. Don't get pulled in the directions, whether it's because you're having such a good time on the dates that you don't focus on these other qualities, or because the person has these other qualities and you're looking for flashier things, but keep coming back to the things that will make the person a good partner in your life.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, there's actually just reminded me of two, a few of the things that you said, just two quick lines, on what you just said, basically is to think before you go out. Are you going out for would you rather a good date or a good, husband or wife, to keep that in mind. The other question was to focus on character traits. This I actually got from Rabbi Dr. Frank, to focus on character traits, not personality traits. A lot of people are looking for the personality traits, but that might not make the best husband or wife, but the character traits will make a very big difference. Mrs. Levy, your final message.
Dating is difficult, and it's a process and a journey, and not an easy one. And those singles who I have over a lot and talk to about dating, I try to impart to them that it's a process, it's a journey, and there's something that you need to be gaining from this process and from this journey that's going to help you as you move forward. It's not like, okay, that date. It's more like, what did I get out of this date? Was I able to figure out for myself what I need more as I dated this person? Was I able to figure out who this person is who I'm dating? Did I just see externals, or did I actually get to know someone and make a decision? No, this is not something that works for me. Can I stay focused that way? Did I learn a little bit more about myself, a little bit more about how to relate to another person, a little bit more about another person? And that was I able to do that? And if so, then I'm moving forward in my journey. And nobody knows, and nobody can know where the journey is going to go and when it's going to end. That is up to Hashem, and we need to keep him in the picture. But my job, the singles job, and I try to impart that, is to figure out how I'm going to best navigate this journey, the place where Hashem put me. How am I best going to navigate it? How am I going to come out of it a better person, not just a jaded and worn out person?
Remember that Hashem already thought of your zivug 40 days before you were born. And it's shidduchim is really hard, and it's in the moment. But always put your best foot forward, no matter, even if you come to the date and you see that, this is not for me, like right away, just keep trying, putting your best foot forward. Actually, the first shidduch that I made was with the guy that I went out with. I set up afterwards with a friend of mine. That said, that in the moment, a lot of times it's just really frustrating, and while you're dating, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, keep davening and keep doing your hishtadlus. Another shidduch I just made was someone who had 2 broken engagements, and he had 1 broken engagement, and it's just for them. I remember speaking to them after they were engaged, and the first 2 times. And it's so disappointing, but they just kept going, and they're Baruch Hashem happily married. And I hope that it goes that way for everyone. And just, keep davening, and we're here for you.
I mostly feel very strongly that it's very important for people to keep themselves in a good masav ruach, with simchas achayim. And mostly, I remember hearing advice as a single person, somebody said it somebody's Shabbos Kala, that a person can grow a certain amount as a single person, and Hashem, at that point, the person moves on, gets married. So that gave me motivation to keep growing as a single person and doing things that made me feel good about myself. And I think that's very, very important for people to try to do that, and to keep a positive attitude, and surely to come across in a very positive and upbeat way. It's not so easy always.
I find with singles, when speaking to them, that they don't really feel so much that they belong in the community. Our community is very family oriented. Every Yontif, every Shabbos, every Simchas Torah. This year I was saying Simchas Torah Corona was better for singles because pretty much everybody was home. So I mean, we've seen girls crying, and like it's heartbreaking. So our community is not set up really, unfortunately, to accommodate our singles. And my advice when I speak to singles is I tell them, try to keep yourself in the loop. Put yourself in a place, even if nobody picks up the phone to call you. There are many organizations that would benefit from your services. You could be a mentor for, a girl who's struggling with her Yiddishkeit or Chai Lifeline. And I know there are many single girls who do this already on their own, or they start organizations because they are more flexible. And not everybody's to start the organization type. But I do think that we need to veer our singles in a direction of build yourself. What do you see yourself doing? How would you like to be involved in the community? So that's one thing I think that would be very important. The other thing I would recommend to a single is to explain to them that if you need help, if you need to work something out from your childhood that's unresolved, if you need, you're dealing with a certain mental health issue, or many people are, whether it's anxiety, it doesn't have to be something as serious as depression, but it naturally could be depressed. But I'm saying anything that they need help with, they need to understand that marriage is not going to solve your problems. Therefore, start your journey now. You don't wait until you're married to get the help. You know what I'm saying? I feel like some people are living in a bubble, then they get married, and all those years from 20 to 30 or from 25 to 35, they would have faced their issues. And we see singles in their late 30s, early 40s who are waking up to that now. It's really never too late. But I'm just saying, like, I would tell them to get the help and work together and grow with the person that you're going to marry. You make yourself vulnerable at a certain point and say, listen, these are some of the things that I'm working through. And surprisingly, I'm sure not surprisingly, they're also working through things, So at a certain point, they'll be able to make themselves vulnerable to share. But I just think that people should start their journey of getting the help when they're single and do things that they enjoy, whether it's traveling or photography, getting involved in the community, explore, and not just sit back and wait.
Just on one point that you said, and I tell many singles that also a lot of times I find people are looking for like a finished product, but I find that I tell many singles that you have to realize that it's something that, you need just someone to build a foundation on, start it off, and then, you have the rest of life to build on that. But you're not, from going out or this or that, you're not going to be, finding the finished product. You have to, build and work on it together.
Right.
Cohen, what would be your final remarks?
Right. Rabbi Leifer, two things that I like to ask the single is, what are you open to? Instead of focusing so much on their needs, I feel like with the secular world and all the, just so much out there in terms of, reading and, and what's out there and whatever is out there, the message of the secular world is getting my needs met. And my personal feeling is that even though everyone has needs and they should be addressed and whatever, but I feel like if we could change and make a shift in our questions and maybe start thinking like, what can I offer? What can I bring to this marriage? What can I offer? What can I give in this marriage? And it really, that shift in mindset, I think, helps people develop themselves before marriage to get them ready for marriage. What can I bring? What can I offer? And then we could talk about what my needs are, but what can I bring? And that's, and what am I open to in terms of shidduchim? What am I open to?
I look at it like this. I always say to singles, when you're dating someone, it's very important to find their flaws. Usually when somebody comes into the first couple dates, they'll tell you what's great about them. You don't really need to work to find that. But we all have flaws. And in order to really get serious with someone and commit to them, I think it's important to figure out what their weak areas are and make sure those are flaws that you can live with and perhaps help with also. But certain flaws you can live with and certain flaws you can't. And then on the other side of the coin, some of you have said this, that I really think it's important to first know yourself fairly well, actually like yourself, and to marry someone who appreciates what you are, not what, try to be what you think they want, but someone who actually appreciates your strengths and even sometimes your quirks.
I think it's important for people going on a date
to give each other a chance, and if at all possible, at least go out twice and realize that they're not going to have this chemistry necessarily on the third or the fourth date, and to give themselves a chance to get to know each other to see if something will develop.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Kol hakavod to all the work, the hard work that you all do, and keep up, everything that you do for Klal Yisrael.